Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the second episode here of Tribal Talk presented by Baptist Health and Baptist Ortho. Now, whether it's an everyday sprain, strain, fracture, or sports injury that doesn't require a trip to the ER, Baptist Ortho Now offers urgent orthopedic injury care with walk-in convenience 6 days a week. Check them out online at baptisthealth.org. I'm your host, Mitch Petrie, and we've got an exciting episode lined up today. We've got Coach Daryl Otwell of the Indian softball team joining us heading into his sixth season as the head coach of that softball team. Excited to talk to him and see what this season might look like here for the Indians. And this will kind of start off with what our next couple of episodes will look like. We'll have a bunch of coaches from all these spring sports join us, including Coach Rush Brooks from baseball, Coach Hutto from the golf team, and Coach Horn and Coach Fagan from the soccer teams. We'll have a full spring preview here before things get underway in this spring season of sports. We'll be back in just a few moments, joined by Coach Daryl Otwell. I'm now joined by Coach Daryl Otwell of the Wetumpka softball team. Coach, heading into your sixth season here as the head coach of this Wetumpka softball program and a state champion as well, coming off that 2023 win just a few years removed. But kind of wanted to talk to you about your journey to becoming the head coach here at Wetumpka. Kind of give me a background of what brought you to Wetumpka.
Well, when I finished playing in Troy back in 2010, which was a long time ago, started out on the softball journey in kind of Mobile, Alabama. Started a first gig at Atmore High School. And then I did 6 years at Hopeville High School. And then finished my last year there in 2019 season and received a phone call from Dr. Slater. Did the interview process here. My wife graduated from Wetumpka. Her whole family tree has taught at Wetumpka. And this is just a place I always visioned myself to kind of be here and grow and just really enjoyed my time here.
Yeah, it's a great community, and I'm sure you're glad to be settled down here, and I'm sure your wife loves being back where she grew up. I know that's a huge thing. Coming off last season, you guys had a great season. 43-7 overall record. Just over an 850 win percentage. Definitely something you're always looking to repeat. But got to the regional championship. Just kind of give me an overview of that last season.
Well, heading into last year, after the past few years, we've had a real senior heavy group that graduated. So last year we had a lot of new faces. We had a young pitching staff. Sophie Aramp was an eighth grader at the time. Abigail Adams was her first year on varsity as a sophomore. So we were very young in the circle. So heading into the season, we kind of had some – we thought it could go good, but expected that kind of youth to kick in. And so, we challenged our girls last year, had to play really good defense, score a lot of runs. And I think they really surpassed our expectations last year. Got all the way down the regionals. We had some weather in there, and they stretched it into one day instead of two. Our season come to a close against Saraland 2-1. We had bases loaded there in the bottom half. Just needed a hit, didn't get the hit, and really had Saraland on the ropes there, and they went on to finish 6A runner-up. So to have such a young team last year, we felt like they competed really well. We just did not get that big hit when we needed it last year. So really looking forward to this year having the majority of that team back.
Yeah, like I was just about to say, coming into the season, a lot of your players now have that experience, especially that postseason experience, something that, really comes into play as you come down the stretch of the season. But, looking ahead at this season, I know you've got some more seniors, but just kind of who do you expect to be really big playmakers for you, not only on the mound, but with some batting as well?
We got a pretty experienced team return this year. We're made up of 5 seniors, 7 juniors, a ninth grader and an eighth grader right now on varsity. We're still in the early spring stages, as we call it. We got a high intense center squad scheduled today. We still have some young girls fighting for an opportunity to make that top roster. But some of the ones that's been here, I got some notes over here for them. We're returning a lot of experience behind home plate. Alyssa Brown, was the starter for us in the state championship game as a ninth grader. And it's like I tell her, it's kind of like returning a 4-year starter at quarterback in football. When you return that experience, It really helps. We returned Bailey Carlisle back at shortstop. This will be her second year, I believe, starting there. And then so we really expect big impacts out of those 2 years. That they've really taken pride this fall. Has really stepped up in that leadership role for us. Um, we returned one of our other seniors last year was Kyla Richardson, made her first start as her junior year in right field. And, most of the year hit over 500, played some great defense for us, going to have a huge impact. And then obviously, Mitch, in the game of softball, a lot of times it comes down to who's in the circle and what they can bring to the table. And when you get down to the stretch, you have to be really good defensively and in the circle. And we had an addition this year with Layla Culpepper, expecting big year out of her, for her junior season. And then, we still got Sophie Arendt back, who's going to finally be a freshman that, was a 20-game winner last year. And then we return Abigail Adams, who was also a 20-game winner as a junior. So uh, we feel like we have a lot of good returning players. We will have some new faces. But we're really excited about the batch we got. We've added Alexi Smith come over from Edgewood to us this year. And she's another one. She was the Elmore County Player of the Year in basketball last year. Very athletic kid. We're very excited about her too.
Yeah, her and Layla both also on the basketball team doing great things for the Lady Indians over there as well. But I know you're kind of starting that winter conditioning, and I just kind of want to pick your brain about what you guys are trying to accomplish. Just a month away from the season, and kind of what that winter conditioning program has started to look like for you guys.
Well, one thing we try to do here, Mitch, is we start back as soon as our season ends. We start back in the summer in the weight room. We go all fall, 3 to 4 days a week. We try to challenge our players in the weight room. We want it to be hard. We want it to be tough. We really focus on that mental aspect of things. We want things to be challenges for them, and we tell our players, we need to do hard things together, and the harder the things we do together makes us grow. So we had a really good fall. We had 8 total practices this fall. We get the 2 hours a week type window that the HSAS allows us. So we had 8 2-hour practices mixed in with 3 or 4 weight room days a week. And then we kind of take a break after Thanksgiving, let the kids kind of enjoy the holidays, focus on their academics, finishing the semester strong. And then really when we return back to school, we go through the throwing phase, back in, getting our arms back into shape, the conditioning. And then really, this week has been our first full go at it where the kind of all time restraints have been lifted. So, we're just trying to get ready to go. We got a month. The main thing is that we're focusing on is just, focusing on the fundamentals, getting our arms back in shape. Staying in the weight room, trying to stay strong. Softball's such a long season from February to May. And then, of course, this week we've really been battling the weather. It seems to be really cold and rainy every time we get to finally start practice.
Yeah, absolutely. Always got to deal with Mother Nature as well. But, looking ahead at the season, I know you guys have a lot of tournaments scheduled, especially kind of on that front end of the season. Obviously postseason is a tournament as well, but kind of what is playing a lot of tournaments early in the season do for your squad?
Well, one thing we've had 6 total tournaments on the varsity, and one thing it does, it kind of gets you in that. Softball is a tournament sport. Once we get in the playoffs, you might have to play 3, 4, 5 games in a day. So in the first half of our season, we really tried to challenge them by playing that, trying to get our bodies accustomed to that grindy. 2 games on Friday, had to get up early Saturday morning, and play 2 more and just kind of get in the swing of things. But it also creates an opportunity for us to really kind of get away from this area, some of these tournaments, and get some teams, out of the north and kind of the south area that we, sometimes run into in the playoffs, and kind of get some bigger classification games in and get really challenged as a team. And it kind of shows us what we need to work on, kind of leading into the, month of May when really the season really matters.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm excited to see what this team has got in store for us this season. I know everybody else is as well. Thanks for joining me today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mitch.
Well, that will just about do it here for this second episode of Tribal Talk on the Collier Ford Wetumpka Sports Network. Tribal Talk is presented by Baptist Health and Baptist Ortho Now. Baptist Ortho Now serves children and adults of all ages with no appointment needed. Located over on East Chase Parkway across from Target. Open Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. Check them out online at baptisthealth.org. Thanks for tuning in today. We'll have an exciting episode lined up next week. Couple of fun guests going to be joining us as well for the final time today. I'm Mitch Petrie. Thanks for listening.